Hi, everybody. Welcome to the DataOps Initiative meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 21st. I am excited to have the regular crew here, so we probably don't need to do introductions this time, which is quite new. If you're attending the meeting, Dan, this H Con, please add yourself to the meeting minutes. And let me share my screen to our meeting minute notes. So today's mostly going to be like a maintenance meeting. Our MCP discussion has been diverted to June 4th, which I think is okay because today we have a little bit less of an attendance rate than usual. And I also want to start doing a workflow where we kind of promote more of the birds of a feather discussions to encourage new folks who are coming in and want to chime in, especially because next Birds of a Feather is a really exciting topic when it comes to MCP. And so I want to make sure that we take full advantage of that. So, in terms of updates for this time around, we're going to go over some of the website. I also want to go over more of the DataOps landscape. But before that, because we didn't get to it last time, we're probably going to go over more of the Gitbook stuff. Jesse, if you have any updates on it. And then, um, yeah, we'll do some stuff about Asana Talks as well. And yeah, but first of all, we can do website updates. Today we're finally joined back by Roxanne. So if you remember last time she was sick, and if she watched the meeting recording, then she'll know that we all tried to wave to her and get her back. Um, but yeah, if you want to give us some updates on some of the stuff needed for the website, we can fill that out too while we're here. And we can go over it.
Yeah, that would be great. So the website I had just added Dan, and that was it basically. I had added the repo as well, but I didn't change the description, so it's still the same. And there was good feedback about like maybe it's not clear what we do, or um, you know, the roadmap needed updating. I think Lisa, you wanted to do that, and yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Why don't we try and hash out some of this while we're here anyways, and then we can kind of get some of that information. Um, Also, for some reason, I feel like at the time we probably had a super clear idea about the answers to these questions, but
Yeah.
now that it's been a
And
minute,
now it's been so
kind of
long.
need to
Yeah.
reacquaint ourselves. I would prefer not to let any more time go. Um, okay, so in terms of what the initiative is actually for, I think we had a common agreement last time that it was like I want to say like it's a knowledge sharing ground, right? Where we create authoritative materials on data ops, but I feel like that's a little bit too vague still, and that it doesn't necessarily have like a definitive goal, or something that's measurable in terms of like what we're reaching towards, if that makes sense. So I would say like the initiative is probably more of, yeah, I would say not like a commune, but like a collaboration. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but
A group or a, one second.
yeah.
I don't want to use think tank.
Cohort.
A what?
Cohort.
Cohort.
If you want to get academic about it, I guess.
If we wanted to get academic, we can make it an association.
That's true.
And just say a group or like a gathering.
Yeah. I could, let's do forum. Maybe a forum
Yeah.
is a good use.
Forum or collection of like different experts.
Yeah. Say like DevOps. And then I'm gonna put machine learning fields here too. Like I would say in a nutshell, this would probably be a good like we might iterate on this later, but this is like if I were to give us a mission statement, this would kind of be it, right?
Did you write that, Dan, or you found that somewhere?
Yeah, I found it from somewhere. I just thought that it might help improve the brainstorming process.
Oh, this is yeah, the where did you find this from? Oh, right. Oh, the data ops committee. Okay, there's a really interesting story behind this. It's not particularly interesting, but the LF does have a data ops committee, and before I started the initiative, I tried to reach out to several of the committee members. They're all in IBM, and none of them like uh replied my emails and seemed to be active anymore. And I reached out to them on LinkedIn, and so I just kind of assumed that they weren't looking to do new things. Um, and so I think generally speaking, it's not an active group anymore, just based off their meetings and stuff. So I just found it easier to do the initiative instead.
I think that's short and good. I mean, the impact is hard to say because we just started.
Yeah, I think,
We could say the goal, not the impact, maybe. Like our goal
yeah, because
is
I think a lot of the stuff on the website is re in regards to actually creating materials, which it is part of our function, but it's not necessarily the value prop of why somebody would attend, right? Um, okay.
so maybe the question shouldn't be what is the impact, but like
Like,
why attend?
yeah,
What's the
why
value?
attend? Like if I think about the value prop somebody would have in terms of attending, like it would be to learn how other people are doing things in this problem area. Like that's probably the number one thing that people get out of this.
I think
Although,
that's good because I think a lot of people feel maybe alone or not sure where to start.
yeah, like they want to see the solutions. Like I think one of the really interesting things that we covered last time was Vivek kind of breaking down how his team or how his organization actually structured their data ops team and function. And that was something that was really cool because it's not like that in other organizations. Um, how to word that though in like an interesting way.
Learn real or connect with
Exchange
from
ideas
real use
with.
cases or
Yeah.
yeah,
Share functional knowledge. I don't know.
yeah, exact functional knowledge. I can reword it,
Yeah, I think
Here,
you know the high level, so you can probably
yeah.
uh
What is DataOps is there?
well, I actually also want to do like tooling too as a part of this.
I see.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. With the landscape.
And then for the what is data ops, I feel like we have
This is what we have.
well this is what is the initiative. This isn't what
Yeah, that's about the initiative. That's not DevOps. We have to talk about the principles of DevOps, Agile, and all of that applying to how you're managing data delivery, and all of that through
I
automation
see.
and collaboration and continuous CI/CD and everything.
I think that we do have a pretty good solid definition of that already though, on the either on the website or in my slides.
I pasted one on chat, so you can take a look on that, or we can check other websites as well.
Right.
are the goals we have then?
Modern data management practice to streamline and optimize design, deployment, and management of data flows through analytics pipeline between data managers and data consumer. I like this one.
This is what I have as well.
This one's good.
That's so funny. There's like such a typo. I put what is DataOps and the roadmap as the same thing on the website. And we all didn't. Or I did. It was my mistake, but
Nobody caught it.
nobody got it.
I also really like we can use this image too. I think it kind of does the best job at kind of like outlining some of the data ops functionality as well.
Are we allowed to use that? Or
I don't know. We'll have to ask Data Kitchen.
okay. Do you know anyone there?
No, but we can create our own as well. That can be our to-do list, is to create a data ops diagram. Although maybe the placeholder can be some of the images that we generated last time. Then like we kind of created some very like mock-up stuff, didn't we?
Yeah.
In the let's see.
I think we had that in the DataOps initiative tab, landscape tab.
Fine.
It's on the landscape tab. I'll share the link otherwise.
Oh, hold on, let me go to the I'm not sure what I'm sharing right now actually.
That's scary.
I'm sharing the window, right? Not just the tab. That's what I was going for.
You're sharing
Down,
the
down,
window,
down.
yeah.
Yeah, down. This one.
Yeah, this one.
I've also shared the link to the Excalibur diagram, but yeah,
Yeah.
you can click
this
the
is-
link.
Yeah, I feel like this is not enough. Okay, that's fine. We can hold off on having a diagram for now. Okay. I think this is a very like succinct way, but we can also add in the other data ops definitions that we have in as well. And then I mean, in terms of linking to the Linux Foundation, I mean, we're just a subsidiary basically of the CDF as far as I see it.
Yeah, I can fill that in.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we need that though. Like, I think the person's idea was like by putting the LF there, it makes it more valuable or like.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we need to have it in there. If it's on the CDF website, I think people can assume that it's part of the Linux Foundation.
I mean, we can say it in the goals, like it says in the goals on the Linux Foundation training.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. I think this is enough to work off of, and then if you want to
Yes.
do like a V1, I'll iterate on it.
Sounds good.
That way we
Thank you.
don't spend a ton of time in the meeting going over
Yeah.
it. Okay, sounds good. All right, next up, let's go over some Gitbook updates. Jesse, do you want to take this one on?
Sure, for as best I can. So you previously, Lisa and I had met and gone over a couple of the options she had been looking at. Went through a couple of them myself. Truthfully, ultimately not costing a whole lot, but the what you seem to be getting for the cost was minimal over actually one of the other links that you sent me, Lisa, which was for I believe Simon Spady's data engineering design patterns. He's just using an MD book, and he's like he's hosting off of his GitHub, and then he's pushing it out via his own like website that's getting hosted. And I was like digging through some of his documentation that he had done, and was able to duplicate it myself. Went ahead and put the link in
You
chat for.
want to share your screen and then kind of catch people up on sort of the idea of the Gitbook and maybe what the goal is and things like that?
Sure, I can try and do it.
Yeah, so Jesse and I had a private one-on-one, but so nobody else is really like caught
Yeah.
up on any of these ideas, but this is something that I've kind of asked him to guinea pig for us. So
But that's cool.
yeah.
All right, getting my windows organized here.
No rush. Lisa, I can copy the landscape if you want, like fork it.
Okay, sounds good.
And you want it under our thing so that we, like, you all can work on it, I assume.
Yes.
And do I just leave it, fork it as is, or will you clean it up, or how do you?
I can clean it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we start kind of making, I feel like there's going to be some fundamental changes in terms of how we structure the landscape, so we'll probably end up doing a bunch of cleanup anyways.
Okay, so from some of the options that Lisa had showed me before, we were wanting something that was simple, easy, Gitbook adjacent to make sure that people could have access to it, make sure to add, obviously all of the knowledge that is amongst the community, myself not included in that for various reasons. But Lisa, you'd eventually shown me this book through Simon Schmady. Ended up really liking it as opposed to the options like Gitbook, like I forget what else we had linked, because all those options essentially didn't provide any seemingly real benefit other than like occasionally some like drag and drop options for pictures, but they already exist within markdown language that's available. And after looking at some other examples, especially again this one as well, I went through his history of how he designed it, and it was based off of MDBook itself, which is, I know, since we're obviously open source here, is the better option. This is maintained by the folks that do Rust. For better or worse, I guess. So it provides us an option that we can do that. You're able to self-host. It's maintained. They've added a lot of options as far as being able to do all the testing, change all the themes. You can add basically anything you want, short of, I think, video currently, but even if it looked like there was some forks that some people were trying to do that in properly, past like just being like fully being able to embed video. And it was relatively easy to reproduce myself as somebody who knows basically nothing about, GitHub or Git in
That's
general.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
you're able to self-host it from your, from the GitHub or from your GitHub profile. And Simon's page is hosted from his GitHub profile and then rerouted through a, hosted web page with his own name. So I figured this would be the easiest and kind of in line with the, I guess, intent of the initiative to, keep it open source, keep it available.
Sounds good.
And
Yeah, so
collaborative, yeah.
yeah, to summarize, one of the pain points that I kind of see with this initiative is that we talk about so many interesting ideas, but we can't really organize it in an efficient way. And I think that one of the things that we'll see after we start coming out with the landscape stuff is people being more interested in sort of the academic learning or sort of the primers around the topics that are covered in the landscape, especially because Dan did such an interesting job of like really breaking down so many different topics. And so one of the questions I had was how do we organize this information in a way that's accessible to the community? Um, I think that the more blog posts that we create, the more materials we generate, if we end up doing like a certification course, I think it needs to be organized in some sort of way for us in a way that's iterable, right? And so this is kind of one of the low-hanging fruits that I wanted to see. And so Jesse did this amazing job of kind of scoping it out, which is fantastic. I think that you did a really great job. And do you want to show us the version that you have made and kind of go over some of the topics and stuff that we've seen, just so that we can see the MVP?
Sorry. So the content was I guess the thing that I was confused about. So this is what I had stolen from part of one of the talks that you had given from the slides that I believe Roxy had sent me. So maybe I misunderstood the content that was wanting to go in here. I was scoping the project itself and
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
figure out how
No,
to do
I
data
just, do you want
entry.
to just share the one that you made with all of the like topics and stuff like that that we have? Like what you've linked in the GitHub, because you're just sharing the MD one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That's why the issue. Sorry. So this is what I linked in below that I was able to, again, duplicate Simon Spady's work of being able to get MDBook hosted on my own GitHub profile. Again, can be rerouted. The one thing I really ended up liking about this was that, again, as somebody who is not familiar with Git, not really like I'm familiar with Markdown tangentially through forums and such, but it was easy to understand. It seems well supported. The ability to set everything up was, quick, easy to do, comes with all the themes for, even if you decide you want to flashbang everybody, apparently. Yeah.
Lisa, if you want like graphics remade with like a transparent background or something, I can do that too.
Yeah, I had to do that with this one, but hadn't gotten to this one yet because
Yeah.
I saw that it was through somebody else.
Well, I just kind of wanted to see what it would look like. And so I think that this is a pretty solid option. I'm glad that Simon's work was a good reference point.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of next step of what I would want to do for this is actually getting this migrated over to the DataOps initiative repo so that we can
Okay.
have a repo for the website changes that we have, maybe some future materials and a place for the blogs to live, the DataOps landscape, and then also like the skipbook, right? And I think that's like a very like well-rounded set of materials for people to start off with.
Yeah. Jesse, you have access, right?
I believe I do. If not, we can
Yeah,
work that out
you
on the
can
side.
just message me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think this looks good. And then we can all kind of chime in on it. And
That's so exciting because
yeah,
I don't know, it feels like a real thing, like the landscape as well.
yeah, as opposed to the stuff that we've been doing, just sitting around in a circle singing
I mean,
Kumbaya,
the blogs are cool
talking about
too.
adventures.
Just getting started is always nice. I will need your GitHub, Dan, and then I will fork the repo of the landscape. Lisa will do her magic, and then you can start messing around in there.
Sent.
And so the way that the repo set up, I need to double check, but we're not an organization, are we? Like we're still technically under CDF as an organization.
So,
We're just a repo?
it's under the CDF,
Yeah.
and then I give access to like this part of the repo. Like,
Yeah, so this is just a repo under the CDF, but if we wanted to do this, because all of our, so one of the things that I'm curious about is one, whether or not we can add people to the CDF. And two, all of our repos are going to be mixed in with the rest of the CDF repos because I think it doesn't make sense for us to shove everything in one repo. Like the Git book should be its own repo, in my opinion. Like
I
the
mean, we can do that. It's just, yeah.
yeah. I don't know. What do people think? Should we stay under CDF or should we just start a new organization?
I can ask how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, since you're an initiative from the CDF, that's the only reason it makes sense to be under the CDF. But
Yeah. I think maybe the best middle ground is that all of our repos are prefixed with DataOps so that then we can make it easy to find which repos are our repos, for instance.
Yeah, I've also thought along this line. Maybe there would be some. If we stick to CDF, maybe would have. I don't know. I'm just speaking out loud right now. Whatever I'm thinking is that if we stick under keep DataOps within CDF, So the other time when we were working on the landscape and all of that, we have to take some tools from CNCF as well, and then there is some differentiation we need to keep with CNCF and CDF. So if data ops initiative is kind of its own thing, so we can leverage both the side of technology eventually. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, I feel like the line between CDF and CNCF is pretty blurred already though because of the project exchanges that have occurred. So I feel like it might be easier to just follow the boundaries that have already been set by the two foundations than try to create something new that's in the middle. That
I
makes
mean, can't you always just be like, we want it somewhere else and then fork it and then put it somewhere else?
No, the thing is that these technologies will overlap. So, for example, a lot of your data ops pipelines, for example, would utilize stuff like Kubernetes, Dockers, and all those stuff that actually lies under the purview of CNCF.
I
Like,
understand that. Like this
yeah,
is not limited to the CDF because it's under the CDF, if that makes sense. Um,
data ops should be separate. TLDR.
I can ask the TOC. I don't know if there's rules or whatever about having an initiative being hosted somewhere else, you know.
Yeah. I'm also worried if we separate it out, we might lose Roxanne. And she's the backbone of this thing because
I
she's
mean,
technically employed by the CDF. We would
I
be
would have to do less babysitting and less access granting, so I don't mind that.
I think those are some important points though. Also, we have somebody new that's joined, who's Rashid. Hi, Rashid.
Yeah, hello everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great to meet you. Do you want to throw a quick introduction and we can also reintroduce ourselves?
Okay, that's us. I am Rashid Mudasiro, part of the CDF community, and we have participated as part of the program committee as for CDCon Japan. Yeah, and I'm here. Thank you.
That's
Awesome.
cool. CDCon Japan, you said, right?
Yes,
Cool. So I'm
March
Roxanne. I
2023.
organized CDCon Japan. I do all of the content and organization at the CDF, and I help with the Data Ops initiative. Lisa?
Yeah, my name's Lisa. I somebody who kind of tells people what to do sometimes and prays that they do it. But generally speaking, I am a data engineer who is really interested in sort of like applying DevOps principles to data engineering pipelines, which is why I'm here. I work on a metadata management tool called Apache Gravitino. That's my background. Jesse?
Jesse, former military, former analyst, and yeah, just here to learn and work on technical writing.
Uh, the name says it all. Dan the Sage Han. Sorry, I have to say it completely since Lisa forces me every time. Well, I have a military background. I've worked in AI and cyber security. Right now, working on the data ops landscape.
Fantastic. Yeah, Rashid, you're catching us in the middle of kind of showing off one of the sort of like markdown type books that we're trying to create so that we can kind of organize some of the information that we talk about in our initiative meetings in kind of like one place and kind of give people more permanent space outside of the blog post to share their knowledge. So this is kind of our a really quick V0 prototype right now that Jesse's put together, and it looks fantastic, I think. So I'm happy to give it the green light. And I'm sure you've joined in on a very interesting piece of the conversation where because a lot of what this initiative touches is not just, stuff within the CDF, I would say arguably it probably touches the least of the CDF tooling as opposed to LFAI and data or CNCF even, that there's a lot of question marks in terms of where maybe this initiative should live. Generally, I think that this is a conversation that we should revisit in a little bit because I do think that as many arguments as there are for this to be owned by CNCF or nobody, I have not actually really talked to the LFAI data about this much either. And so I've always seen this particular initiative as being a common ground between a lot of the other branches of LFA as well, like even like OpenSSF, right? And so there's a lot of weird question marks in terms of how we want to define where this should live, if it should live anywhere, because of the kind of mix of tooling that you'll see across the board here. So this is where we're at so far. But yeah, we can move on to the next agenda item though, and I think this gives us a good segue into the landscape. I'll need to think a little bit more in terms of the repo organization. Let's keep it under CDF for now, and I want to revisit it in the next meeting or the meeting after.
Sounds good. Let me know. I have contacts at the CNCF and like landscape folks. I can ask if they have an opinion.
Yeah, like this is by nature interdisciplinary, and I think we have to deal with the bureaucratic processes involved with that.
And I don't think people will care where it's hosted because the link when they visit the landscape will just be whatever you want it to be. Like it'll probably be DataOps.landscape or whatever.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know how but
Dan,
the
I know.
repo is just behind it.
Yeah. Dan.
Yeah.
Dan. I'm getting better. See, I'm getting better.
Do it. Get it out of your system. Do it.
Dan, the Sage Con.
Yes.
I haven't
Feeling
had
better?
to revisit some of the stuff that we talked about in the last meeting yet, but if you wanted to go
Okay.
over anything else for the landscape, I think this is a good time to do it.
Jesse, did
Look,
you want
yeah.
Sorry, what?
to add the info ops to the agenda or the blog post or
That's up to you because I know that we said we still needed to talk to Lisa about potentially adding in on that. So it's up to you on I
well,
know I've
that's
made
the
it.
agenda item.
Oh, true.
Lisa,
Sorry.
do you want to look at it?
Yes. Let's do the landscape first, and then we'll.
Yeah, there's no
Alright.
rush.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you sharing the screen?
I can share the screen. That is something
Yeah.
capable of doing.
So we are all on the same page.
Is that a pun?
Oh yeah. Unintentional.
Let me go to here. All right. Is there a specific page that you want to be on? Because it's 9 pages. Because we.
Yeah, we were last time we were talking about what were the 5 things we would want to start with.
Yeah.
We were unable to make our minds at that time, so I think it's about time we need to get that straightened up before we actually move on to building the framework and adding tools to it. Then I can, based on that framework, I can approach these various companies to uh, add in their names on within that platform or within that framework. So I think the top 5 we need to talk about. We didn't make our mind up last time.
Yeah, we kept changing it. In my opinion, the top 5 should be the ones that are the most unique to DataOps, right? And for me, I feel like they're the ones that are the most inherently interdisciplinary. So for sure, it's data platform. I think a lot of other folks agreed on that last time. Should I color code this? Would that make it easier?
Definitely.
Yeah. Where's the fill? Let's just do green because I feel like red is really aggressive for whatever reason. So I do think that data platform and orchestration is going to be at least the top 2 here. And I think they were pretty common as one. For the rest, like we moved around a lot between the other ones. Like CI/CD should be it because we're in the CDF, but I actually don't think there's enough tooling here for it to be a landscape category.
I don't think that's a requirement though. that because you're in the CDF, you need a category.
Yeah, I mean, we will
Yeah.
eventually, but I think that we just want to build
Yeah,
out
but I mean,
Yeah.
like, I don't think anyone will be like, how dare.
Yeah. Data engineering, I think, is another top 5. And then I think the other ones that we talked a lot about before were data quality and testing and metadata. So I'm actually going to, yeah, let me think about this for a second because we did discuss a lot about it. I'm gonna do metadata as this one, and I know I'm a bit biased because I'm a metadata person, but I think this is
Yeah.
what enables the rest, right? Like if you don't have the metadata in place, because the metadata is what powers so many other things.
Hmm.
And then I also want to put data quality and testing. This is going to be the harder one though if we decide to do this, but it's the one that everybody's struggling with right now, which is why I think it'll make it interesting to have it as part of the landscape, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you agree with those so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The idea of keeping data quality and testing is that we can, for now, we can merge governance and compliance within that as well.
Yes,
So
I agree.
yeah,
And yeah, even lineage to some extent.
even lineage to some extent. Yeah.
And then
What about observability and one, two,
I think
three?
observability is a good one too, because all of these are kind of within the realm of platforming anyways. Uh, and so I think that it's thematically like makes sense that if we took a data platform, like these are the major components anyways, right?
And ingestion and ETL can actually merge with orchestration, scheduling, as something like that.
Yeah, I think so as well. Right.
Yeah.
So these are the top 5. Does that
Hmm.
speak now or forever hold your peace? And we can always change it in the future, but I think that this makes the most sense from a data ops perspective in terms of what is pure data ops versus the
Yeah.
rest, which are either like more data engineering or more.
I think if we keep these 5s and we try to make the rest as a subcategory to these 5 categories. So stuff like governance, compliance, security, and all of that. We can, put the bits and pieces inside of that as well. So
Agreed.
we have 5 main categories and other stuff that we want to make more categories of. Instead, we make subcategories within those 5 categories. That is how we can go along with it.
Yep, makes sense to me. All right. I'm glad that we could kind of come to agreement pretty easily on what it is. And I think that because we had so much discussion around it last time, it was a little
Oh yeah.
straightforward. Yeah.
Lisa, so I looked up what the landscape folks told me, and they were like, so we have a sub landscape called WASM on CNCF. So they're proposing that we do that with DataOps. So yes, then it would matter where you host it. And it might make more sense to host it under the LFAI and data landscape then.
Yeah. Let me think about this.
Like
So
there's
we
no
would
rush to
still be in
decide.
charge of
Yeah.
it where it would be hosted would be different.
Sorry.
So we would still be in charge of it and own it, but where it would be hosted would be different.
I believe so. The thing is, it wouldn't be a fork then. When I look at their landscape, it's directly in the CNCF main one. They just have a category.
I actually feel like between LFAI and data, CNCF and CDF, it actually maybe makes more sense to have this as part of the CNCF, which is hilarious.
I
Because
mean,
that's
if they want it, you are welcome to do
yeah.
it there for sure.
But let's start out with so they would prefer like the conventional thing to do is to have it officially under the CDF instead of creating a whole new landscape.
So what I asked specifically is I said, hey, members of the community, our community, want to create a specific data ops landscape. How do we do this? And then Chris Sanisichik from the CNCF said LFAI already has a landscape. I believe it would be easy to create a new one or a sub one, like the CNCF does. So we could create a new one. I don't know how that works because like the landscape is landscape.cd.foundation. So then would we need a whole new website? I don't know how, like, would we need just a domain? I really don't know how the landscape works. So
Let's
if
keep
you
it as
can,
a
yeah,
up under CDF. I feel like just the overhead of moving this to another branch is like, yeah, because I also know that the process for the LFAI and data landscape is separate entirely, and that's like a totally different committee. And to be honest, like that team has just changed hands, so I don't
yeah,
want
I heard.
to jump in on that. So,
Yeah.
let's keep it like Wasm style, with what they've got, and then we can always extrapolate it out. I think the most important thing is just to get it set up somewhere, and then if we move it, we move it. That's okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Um, so last time we didn't get to the rubric, but I'm happy to do a bit of a deeper dive on that as well. Or do you want to keep it at this, Dan, and then we can revisit it after?
We can discuss it.
Okay. Um, so let's see. For the rubric, is this mostly just the rubric that's been in other landscapes? Like I kind of see that some of these are cited.
Yeah,
Uh,
we can actually see what applies to us.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do the same thing where we grab maybe like 5 to 7 and then we just highlight that and then we
Yep.
the priority. So that way, because I feel like the idea of evaluating each tool on all of these is going to be quite heavy. And it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah,
I
the
think,
way I work usually is that I try to get as much point as possible, and then I work with the team to prioritize. Okay, how do you do it? So that kind of gives you the best results.
yeah, and that's what we're doing right now. So I think it's working.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maturity is going to be like one of the top ones that we look at, given which space that we're on. Same with adoption and usage, I would say. And it has to be open source, I would assume. Or I don't know. There are some landscapes that allow proprietary stuff on there. Like I know a lot of the data landscapes also do that, but I think keeping it
We
open.
want to go open source, right?
Yeah, I would prefer to be open source. Am-
Linux Foundation, open source projects. So I think we should stick to open source. That's my understanding.
And then I'm also going to add in, let's see, funding sustainability. Let's see. This is part of the maturity model that we can add in. And then I would say this is under open source. Diversity is good, but in terms of what would be an easy way to measure, I do think that interoperability is really important, but it's hard for us
Yeah.
to evaluate that. Like that would have to be something that like you submit this form and you tell us how you're interoperable, but it's very hard for us to vet without like having to test the tools ourselves. Um,
But are we in the business of testing the tools or ourselves or something like that?
no, I think that that would be way too much work. Uh,
Yeah, obviously. So in terms of interoperability, we can trust the documentation on the face value that they say that they work on, various platforms, or if they have universal APIs or something like that.
mhm. Okay. I'm gonna do documentation quality. Uh, I'm gonna keep it really easy. I think good documentation is always a good marker of maturity, and I think it's in line with all of these too. So I think generally, like if we were to take a quick look at like say a single project, we should be able to tell at least these four right off the bat.
What about security posture? Like we can use cve.org to one way to go around it, that if there are any known vulnerabilities around that, so obviously we're not going to go into that, or we need to see how much the community is active in terms of patching the updates. I mean, you have CVE vulnerabilities on Linux itself as well, but then the community is so good that, for example, the last sudo vulnerability or SSH vulnerability they had, it was fixed within 1.5 days or something like that. So that may be a measure of how actively the community is working and to for security updates. So that is how we can go around with security posture.
I agree, but I think that it's going to apply more to other parts of the landscape than others. Like if it's under data platforming, it's going to matter a lot more in terms of security posture than like let's say if we extend into the MLOps ecosystem and we just have like something like a okay, maybe not ML flow, but like something like a feature store, for instance.
Question. Why were data ops? Why are we integrating ML ops into this? I just saw on CNCF landscape as well that they have integrated AI, but then we have LFAI as well. Where are we drawing the line on? They have the data architecture as well. CNCF has data architecture as well. I just saw that. So now, where are we differentiating
Well, okay,
ourselves?
even if we
I need to
don't use
understand that.
an ML, so I think that for the sake of the initiative where it is right now, we shouldn't go into ML, but I think it will eventually be part of what we do. Generally speaking, I think that it's an end-to-end process that we look at. And so managing feature stores, for instance, makes sense if you're generating data sets. If like even something like MCP, if we stop ourselves right before machine learning, then we'll never talk about those sort of things, which are very
No,
important.
MCP comes within that. Look, you if you have worked on building a data pipeline to feed LLMs, I've used unstructured. It's a very painful process, parsing PDF and all of that, blah 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 blah, and feeding the LLM in the right JSON output to so that it understands better and makes better decisions, saving it into a vector data store. That's a very hectic process. So MCP kind of solved all of that. That it gives a better context without relying too much on your local cache of vector database and all of that. So that is the data side of things, that you're building a pipeline to feed to your LLM, but that is data, the whole unstructured
But
process and
it's
all of
still
this.
arguably just as much on the LLM side of things, and especially if you're considering the end user for that product, right? Or whatever that server is. And so, like, it's a gray area. And I think it will continue to be a gray area, especially if you're going to have, like, say, models registered within your data catalog, for instance, or you're managing the individual data sets and you're having to manage the lifecycle and access. And so, a lot of these systems are veering into being more wide than they are narrow. And so, like, I think for the sake of simplicity and just for us to be able to concentrate and focus, right now we're having preference to the actual data pipelines and the management of the data pipelines. But I would absolutely not be surprised, nor would I want to hold the initiative back from extending into other parts of the ecosystem, especially like down into the MLOps ecosystem, especially because I think that will naturally end up capturing it anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, even for something like lineage tooling, like, I think it would be hard for us to be able to capture something like security. I'm not saying that it's not important, but I think that this will be very variable to apply to every single tool that we want to bring in, which
There are controls already on OpenSSF and CVE in place. It's been a while since I've looked into those things, but we can set up some baseline around that.
okay, well, we can give it a shot. And then if it ends up being too difficult, then we can scale back, but we can take it as an iterative process anyways. And then
1, 2, 3, 4,
yeah, I
4.
think this
1,
5.
2, 3, 4, 5, 5. All right.
Yeah. So this is 5 right now. Um, I do think that roadmap and vision or API stability and versioning is probably going to be another one to add. Yeah.
We can merge it with the scalability, I guess. No, let's go separate. Which of these can we merge?
Let's see. So this can
Community is important. Come on, if you have a good community around that
I would
open
put it
source
under
project.
open source status though.
Oh, okay, yeah. That we can do that. Yeah.
These are open source status.
Hmm. Yeah.
This is also open source status. Supported
Yeah.
SLAs, API version control. Like that's kind of under scalability. Yeah. This is also hard to show for some things, but
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
let's keep it at this for now, and then we will have another technical category eventually, but I think as you go through this, you'll understand a little bit more what's the more appropriate one, and we'll round it out a little bit more later on.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that make sense so far? Do you agree? This is kind of you're owning it, so I don't want to like come in and step all over it. So
I would be thinking of merging a lot of these categories together, but for now, this looks fine. I'll think more on it.
yeah, yeah, I think you'll end up adding another more technical category for some of these anyways, and I'll leave it up to you how you want to define it.
I'll think on it. I'll think on it.
Sounds good. All right. And oh my gosh, this meeting's going by so quickly already. Uh, we only have 5 more minutes. So let's go over some of the blog post stuff then, if that works for everybody. Um, Either Jesse or Roxanne, do you want to share?
I think Jesse,
Yeah, I can.
he like split it up, but yeah.
Okay. So, courtesy of Victor, who's obviously isn't here to make sure I didn't absolutely butcher his posts.
Can you zoom in a bit?
Sorry.
Zoom in.
Thank you.
Enhance. Yeah, I got it. All right. So Victor gave us obviously a great starting point for a lot of this, but we're trying to break it up and do some smaller posts, just to kind of give it some brevity and hopefully, obviously give us a little bit more eyes on it as well without
And it
dragging
also
people through it.
didn't quite flow like it seemed like
Yeah.
different ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're still working on some of that. So we're still going through some iterations on some of the further posts. But for the first one, the one we're looking at would be the start of it was the history that Victor provided for us. Have a little bit of an intro here. Obviously, most of this is basic level talk for me. So if you spot anything that is absolutely wild and out there for your sensibility, please let me know. We do have a history of the DataOps as we're going through. We debated doing this. I think I decided against it, Roxanne, just because I feel like it would be a little bit too much for a single post.
Hmm.
We get through some modern interpretations, integrations, methodologies, get a chance to shill to get people to join us, and also introduce it as a series of posts. The next one would be jumping into, I guess I get forward ahead in the timeline, but still keeping it with metadata, which I know is Lisa's favorite part of all of this. I wasn't sure if Lisa was wanting to jump in and add something a little bit more elaborative, since definitely on a technical landscape, you're going to beat me out on this every day of the week. A lot of good data here. We do need to work a little bit on the conclusion, I think. As far as the call to action, you guys were already referring to, I guess, kind of what is the goal of the initiative. So I would kind of defer to some of your expertise on this one.
I guess what we're looking for, Lisa, is do you think this split is good, and then we'll polish it, and then you and Victor can go, yeah, nah, you know.
The split is good. I like where you've categorized things and the scope of each one. I think
Okay.
generally speaking, going smaller is actually better than longer for a lot of these types of blog posts. And then I think this is, yeah, some more, right, that you've got. So we've got 4 posts out of this.
Yeah.
At least 3, possibly 4, depends on how we want to deal with. He has the decoupling, and then the unifying approach. So initially, I was wanting to split it up as decoupling and the unifying as separate posts, but I realized that they're so intertwined, it's kind of hard to do that. So that might the third/fourth post might be the longest of them,
I think
but
that's okay, yeah.
yeah, but that is eventually like where you're going to, I guess like the future looking side of it of, trying to unify it under info ops rather than its separate entities.
Yeah, it looks good to me so far. The material looks good. It looks a little bit more like general thought leadership than like prescriptive technical. Like I guess how-to guides or anything like that, which I think is fine. I think it's fine to have something like that. So generally speaking, um It's solid. The only thing that I wonder is if there's like additional resources or links that we can put in for people who want to do follow up, and if we need any citations. I don't think he put in too many, right?
No, I believe the general citation he provided was to the Wikipedia for the information theory, which is kind of you go down a rabbit hole on that one because when it comes to like the history of, of the term DataOps, it's lost to the sands of the internet from an IBM forum that's no longer available.
Yeah, that's
Just
fine.
complete your idea, complete your post. We can generate citations later on. I'll help you out.
Okay.
Okay, well, Jesse, if you want, I'll like comb through it a bit more and then we can
Okay.
finalize it and, and send it to them for more input.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
I'll put it on my list. Thanks so much for doing that. It helps so much. I was looking at that post and I was like, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
No, it's
It's
fine.
good information. It was just I didn't know how to split it up, and you did all the work. So
Can we also make sure that we add in like Victor's bio and background? Like we have a way to make sure that this was like clearly written by Victor when we post it.
of course,
All right, sounds
can
good.
I say also contributors like
You just do a
Jesse?
byline and then do editors and
Yeah.
can cite us, I guess.
Fabulous. All right. Well, I think that's about it for this meeting. I mean, we're on time currently. I think that we did mostly housekeeping today, but that's how it is. We're jumping back into it. So appreciate everybody for coming today and for all your hard work.
A fun group. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. And thank you for Rashid for joining us. And the next meeting will be more fun and interactive. Right. Cheers, everyone.
Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah.